everyone. Welcome to WeTalk, an online podcast hosted by WePlay. WePlay is an online platform through which players can connect to playing spaces, other players, sports centers, training centers, and events. We started WeTalk, an online podcast dedicated to off-the-pitch discussions on sports, efforts that go into sports, including tactics, strategies, mental well-being, performance measurement, and overall development. WePlay is largely dedicated to promoting mental well-being as well as physical well-being. On today's podcast, we will be focusing on mental health. Just a general background, in the past 2 years, prominent players like Kevin Love, Michael Phelps, and Serena Williams have come forth and talked about their struggle with mental health, mainly anxiety and depression. Today, we will be talking about mental health in sports community, among athletes and in general, and we'll discuss ways of having a healthy mind. Today, we have with us Dr. Richa Amatya, psychiatry expert for today's session, who will be answering some of ours alongside your questions that you submitted to us through our social media handle. With that, it is now my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Richa Amatya. Welcome to WeTalk and thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm very happy to be part of the show.
So our first segment is related to sports. Our first session will be mental health related questions that's mainly addressing the sports community. So the sports culture in general is considered to be toxic on an athlete's mental health. Because whenever we do view an athlete, whether it's on a Nike commercial or on the ground, they are portrayed as somebody that's very relentless, fearless, and removed of emotions. Do you think there is an intrinsic lack of awareness about mental health in sports community because of how athletes are portrayed?
Yes, definitely. I mean, like you said, athletes are always viewed as individuals who are like physically fit and very strong. And since they are they are viewed as physically fit and strong, people automatically tend to believe that they are mentally strong as well. I mean, even their family members might think that they are very emotionally strong as well. It's always they're always pressured in some way or the other to look very calm and confident and very strong in front of the media and in front of the crowd as well. So in a way that it pressurizes them to be someone that they might not be. They might be having some mental health issues or emotional problems that they are not able to ventilate out properly. So, and when these emotions are like bottled up for a very long time, it might lead to a lot of stress. And automatically, stress does cause mental health problems as well.
Speaking of athletes, Serena Williams came forth and wrote an essay addressing her infamous 2018 US final meltdown, after which she was widely criticized and vilified. She stated in the essay that when women get passionate, they're labeled as emotional and crazy and even irrational. But when men do, they're seen as passionate and strong. So do you think some mental health issue faced by women are also a result of gender-based stereotype that women play or face?
Yes, definitely, because although we are in the 21st century right now, gender biasness, discrimination, it's there all around us. It's there. And the female players, well, they don't just have to, face the harsh training of the sports community, but they have to, in a way, face the gender discrimination, gender biasness within that community as well. So that obviously might lead to stress. It's not, it might not be prevalent for all the female players, but some of the vulnerable female players, they might be facing that type of stress, which ultimately, obviously, like I said before, stress does lead to mental health issues. Yes.
Apart from women players, have you also seen mental health issues relating to gender-based stereotype beyond just the sports community?
Yes, definitely. I mean, like, although, like I said before, even if we are in the 21st century, and although we talk a lot about women equality, gender equality and everything, it's still not there. We're still not at the stage where we can say that females and males are considered as equal. It's not only in the sports community, but in other professional lifestyles as well, like in the media maybe, and even in the professional, such as even among us, the doctors, those things might be quite prevalent as well. I wouldn't say that it's prevalent in all the parts of the world, but in certain parts of the world it might be a bit more, and in certain parts of the world it might be a bit less, but it's definitely there.
So speaking of women in sports, addressing the recent incident, USC volleyball player Victoria Garrick also opened up about her eating disorder. A US research also claims that 1 in 3 female college athletes are at a risk for eating disorder, as female athletes, as you mentioned, are pressured from the society and social media to look a certain way, while they're also pressured from the sports community to look differently. Have you found cases of eating disorder among women or women players to be common in the context of Nepal?
Um, well, that's quite true. I mean, like women, we are supposed to look good in terms of physical aspects, as well as since they are athletes, they are supposed to look good in terms of their body image as well. So yes, looking good is actually and staying fit is actually, it's actually good. I mean, like if you have a great body, if you have a physically fit body, it's good. It's very natural to feel that you look good on camera. You feel very glamorous in that way as well. But resorting to if you're pressured to look in a certain way, you might feel that there are certain things that you need to do to achieve that look. Some people might be even resorting to extensive diets and all. So I guess that's quite prevalent in Nepal as well. And since we are adopting cultures from the outside society, and where dieting is quite prominent part of the thing that usually people are resorting to in other parts of the world, in Western parts of the world, and Nepal, we being less developed than other countries, we are actually looking up to the things what other people are doing in the well-developed and Western countries. So since dieting and everything, it's quite prominent in the other parts of the world, we are adopting those type of lifestyles as well. And obviously, since that being said, I guess Nepalese female athletes might also be doing and taking those things in their daily lifestyle as well.
Speaking of these extensive diets, we've also seen diets like juice cleansing and keto and intermediate fasting in general gaining a lot of popularity. How does these intense diet affect your mental health? And do you actually recommend these diets to people of all age?
Well, dieting as such, I wouldn't say that it's not good. It would be good if you take it in a if you practice it in a good way. But there are certain diets, like you said, that might be causing weight loss in an extensive manner. Like within a few weeks, you might be losing 5 or 6 kgs. It's not recommended that you lose a lot of weight within 1 or 2 weeks time range. You have to allow your body to adjust to those things, to weight loss and everything. So certain diet regimes might cause extensive weight losses, but there are certain diet regimes that might cause a gradual weight loss.
People who are actually Googling stuff, what should they be looking at before they follow a diet?
Mm-hmm. Well, they should be looking at their age, especially if they are like well below the recommended age or well above the recommended age. It might not be very good to follow that strict diet regime. And you have to understand what your body is facing as well. You have to understand what the disorders, what other disorders that you might be having. Like if you have diabetes or hypertension or any other sorts of other disorders, certain diet regimes might not be good for you. It might cause more harm. And overall, dieting itself, it causes some kind of metabolic reaction in your body, and that reaction might not be in a like there might be production of some there might be production of some kind of toxic materials due to extensive dietings, which might not be good for you. So you have to take in consideration your age, your lifestyle, the other comorbid disorders that you have. So all these things should be taken into hand before you adopt any type of dieting style.
While we are on the topic of lifestyle, how do you think being physically fit corresponds to having a better mental health?
Mm-hmm. Well, I always tell this to everyone that physical health as well as mental health, they go hand in hand. If you have good physical health, you will automatically have good mental health. And if you have good mental health, it supports your physical health as well. But this is not always true. Some people might be like, for example, the athletes, they might be on top of their game. They might be very much physically fit. But on the other hand, they might not have very good mental health as well. So although physical health and mental health, they go hand in hand, it might not always be true that those people who are physically fit they might not always be mentally fit. Well, one of the reasons as to why I would say that people who are physically fit, they are in a way a bit more mentally healthy, is because physical fitness, it actually helps the body to release certain types of neurotransmitters, neurochemicals such as endorphins and norepinephrines, as well as dopamines and sertralins. So these, in a way, it helps to regulate our emotions and keep us mentally healthy as well.
So you said physical fitness helps with mental health. So does the fact that fitness corresponds to better mental health actually help elevate the stigma that athletes don't suffer from mental health related issues?
Mhm. Well, yes, physical health does improve your mental health, but saying this, it's not that those people who are physically fit, the athletes, it's not that they don't have mental health issues. They are very much likely, very much prone to have mental health issues because they are in a lot of pressure. They are pressured by the society, by the media, by the by the sports community itself, as well as by their family and friends. They have certain expectations from them as well. So although you are physically fit, you might tend to have mental illnesses as well, mental health issues as well.
Addressing the recent pandemic, a lot of athletes are expected to follow a rigorous fitness plan to keep up with their trainings, which might be lethargic, especially during a time like this. You might feel unmotivated to do anything. What is your advice to these people who are feeling demotivated during these times or who don't have the energy to do stuff that is normally expected of them?
Mhm. So this COVID-19 pandemic, it has taken the world by surprise. Like, we never expected that something like this would happen, and it has like completely changed our lifestyle as well. So this change in lifestyle is one of the reasons as to why people are feeling demotivated. And those people, like the athletes who used to have a very they used to have a very concrete type of schedule, daily routine, and when they don't have that, when those daily routines are lacking, they might be having some kind of demotivation issues or lack of energy issues as well. So what I would suggest to them is that, like before, create a daily routine, daily schedule for yourself. Even now, even when we are at the stage of lockdown or in this stage of pandemic, create a daily routine for yourself. So by creating a daily routine, you will be back on your game as well. And other thing is that it's not only about like this situation causing the demotivation and lack of energy as well. You need to address as to why you're having that lack of energy, lack of demotivation. It could be one thing that it's because your daily routine is hampered, but it could also be because it might be a simple sign or symptom that you might be exhibiting of mental health issues. In some cases, like even in case of anxiety or depression, people or any type of adjustment disorders, people might have demotivation issues or lack of energy issues. So you need to understand where it's coming from in the beginning.
Dr. Amatya, what kind of lifestyle change do you personally recommend that can help reduce stress and anxiety and which can contribute to overall mental well-being?
So for this, I would like to say being mindful. Being mindful means focusing on your present. Do not think about your past too much because it's not something that we can change. And do not think or stress about your future because we never know what's going to happen the next day. So being mindful is being focused on your present, on your here and now. And there are certain ways that helps you to be mindful. One of them is your breathing exercise, where you take in breath and then hold it for a few seconds, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and then let it out. So take a deep, long breath and then hold it for 2 or 3 seconds and then let it out. By practicing this 2 or 3 times per day, it helps you be mindful and be focused on your present situation. And the other technique is the grounding technique. Here in grounding technique, what we usually tell the people is that focus on 5 things that you can touch with your own hands, and focus on 4 things that you can see with your eyes, and 3 things that you can hear at the present situation. Like, it can be a distant sound or even the sound of your own voice that you can recognize. And other thing is focus on 2 things that you can smell at present and 1 thing that you can taste. So this is the grounding technique where you're more focused on your senses. This really helps you be mindful.
Okay, so that marks the end of our sports session. We also have some questions from our followers. We will be keeping them anonymous. So our first followers ask, what in your opinion is contributing to the growth of suicide rate, especially among teens?
Mm-hmm. Well, um, Current situation is also one of the thing that we can blame at this COVID-19 thing, COVID-19 situation. It's quite stressful, like not only for the teens, it's actually quite stressful for everyone around us, every age group, every age group is quite vulnerable to this right now. But it's not only that, it's our developing world, that it's our the technological growth that we are facing. And because of this, because of the technological advancement that we are at, it might cause some kind of loneliness. Like when we look at it, when we were like in our younger ages, like when we were just children, we used to have less technological development, but there were a lot of people around us. We used to have a lot of people to share our emotions with. But now, although we have people around us, we are basically more focused on the technologies. Like we're basically more focused on our TV or mobile phones, or even the like social medias and all. So in a way, technological advancement, it has created a wide gap between the communications that people might have with their family and friends. So this might also be one of the reasons as to why people are feeling a bit more vulnerable. And when people see things over the social media, that might also cause some kind of, a chain reaction as to why people are committing suicide. When one sees that in the social media, and a vulnerable group might be susceptible to that sort of thing, so that might be resorting them to feel or have some kind of self-harm behavior within them as well.
You said there is a lack of communication because of technology. So, how do we start the conversation about not feeling well with anyone? Or when do we know that it's time for us to seek professional help?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I would say if you have to talk about yourself, if you have to talk about your emotions, it's very much necessary that you choose the right person. You need to address your problems to a trusted individual. It might be one of your friends, one of your family members, or your relatives, anyone. But you have to make sure that they are those individuals who will support you in the long run. There are some instances where, even like in my own career, I've faced that there are some people whose family members are not that supportive, whose friends are might not be that supportive. They tend to open up about their feelings to their family members and friends, but then what the response they get from them is quite different. They might feel that their family members might say that it's nothing. They just say that it's something that you need to do to clear your head. It's something that will just go away by itself. So if the people who are having emotional disturbances get such type of emotional responses, like verbal responses from their uh, family members and friends, they might be demotivated to seek professional help. So in that case, what I would suggest is that if you do find a trusted individual to support you, that's very good. And if you don't, we are always here to help you. It would be very much necessary for you to consult a professional psychiatrist or any other doctor as such, who would refer you to a psychiatrist for you to get back on track.
Okay. So, one of our followers asked, in what way is self reflection or getting to know oneself better, better to address our mental health issues, or how should we do this?
Mhm. Well, all of us are different. Like we have different type of emotions. The way we behave, it's different, right? So, but the thing is, um, what we need to understand is, like, any type of stress that we might feel, it might be different to very different individuals. Like for one individual, certain small stressful thing could be taken as a very big deal, whereas that certain stressful thing could be a negligible thing for the other individuals. So you need to understand what you actually feel. You need to understand what makes you feel different, what makes you feel vulnerable and everything. And for that, it's not only about your emotions, it's not only about how you feel, it's about how you have been brought up, what your family members have been like facing, and how they have been handling things as well. So partly it's about yourself. You have to look into your past and see how you have been dealing with things for the self reflection. And partly it's your genetics as well. You need to understand how your family members had been coping with it, how your immediate family members, your mother, father, or your brothers or sisters, how they handle things, so you can get clues from that side as well. So by that way, you can like self reflect and be able to get on with things in a positive manner.
So when we do recommend somebody, we say things like be positive or to not stress out. And these things do sound very easy, but they don't really have a methodological approach. So how can we try to be more positive or not to stress out when most of the time it
Mhm,
feels like something that's out of our control?
mhm. Well, yes, that's very true. We hear a lot of people say that you need to be positive, you need to be stress free. And I get a lot of people in my own clinical practice where the patients say that whenever they hear from their family members, they give them advice. The family members give them advice not to be stressed, not to take a lot of stress, be positive all the time. But that's not always applicable. Like for me, myself as well, whenever I'm in a lot of stress, I tell myself not to be stressed. I tell myself to be positive, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes, even though we know that we should not stress, we should be positive, stress does take a toll in ourselves, in our lifestyle. So what I have actually adjusted and what I've actually learned is that uh, being positive doesn't just mean being happy throughout the day. It doesn't just mean being happy always and every time. It just means that whenever you're stuck in a very stressful situation, when you're stuck in a very difficult situation, being positive means that you know that there are better days ahead of us. Like you know that even though you are stuck in a very difficult situation, the upcoming days will be better. So thinking in that way is being actually positive. It doesn't always mean that you have to be happy all the time, but it means that in the upcoming days you are motivated to do something, and you are you are hopeful. You're hopeful in that way.
And finally, we have a very specific question. Is cognitive dissonance a mental health related issue?
Uh-huh. Well, no, cognitive dissonance is not a mental health issue. Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you what cognitive dissonance is. It's something that happens in our body when we have two contradictory thoughts or behavior. Like, for example, I'll give you an very example related to our situation right now. For example, in this pandemic, what we have learned is that social distancing and wearing masks while going out is and sanitizing your hands and everything, it's very important. So that is one fact, that is one thought that we have. But whenever there is a loosening of lockdown in our country, everyone just tends to rush outside. So when people rush outside, they have that behavior. It's contradicting to what they have already known. First of all, they were like subjected to the fact that social distancing is important, but when the lockdown is a bit eased, their behavior tends to be quite contradicting to what they have learned. They go outside and they tend to mingle around with the crowd and everything, so that causes cognitive dissonance. So there are two basic contradicting thoughts or behavior. So in order to ease that cognitive dissonance, what people tend to do is that their mind automatically brings out thoughts to ease their emotions. Because of the cognitive dissonance, they might be having emotional disturbances such as anxiety or depressive thoughts. Like I know that if I go outside, I might contract COVID-19. But since there is an ease of lockdown, I go out for shopping and everything. So that there are two contradicting things, and because of that, I might be having some kind of emotional breakdowns, such as anxiety or even depressive thoughts. So to ease that, what my body lets me to think is that even though if I go out, if I do maintain the physical distance, if I wash my hands properly, I might not contract COVID-19. So my body automatically like senses out things and helps me remember those things that will help me ease out those emotional disturbances that I might be facing. So no, cognitive dissonance, it's not a mental health issue. It's something that your body just does in certain
Thank you, Dr.
time.
Amatya. That was our final question, marked the end of today's session. We would like to thank Dr. Amatya once again for providing us with her valuable time and clarifying all of ours and the followers' queries. We understand that these are trying times, but putting an emphasis on mental health along with your physical health is equally important. We have attached information about helplines and links to online counseling, including Dr. Richa Amatya's, in the description box below, along with additional information, and we hope to further conversation about mental health in future episodes of the podcast too. With that, I would like to officially end today's session. Thank you, stay safe, and stay healthy.